Is that crooked? Hey, Liz, do you know how to turn off the light on the telephone? See how this thing is shining the light?
Right, yeah.
Right.
It's in your app, so you can use.
Sorry about that, guys.
Go to your. So shut this up. Oh no, it's in. Hold on.
In the app that I use?
No, it's in. Extras.
Have you seen that before?
Yeah, it's in.
We'll be right with you. It's not on now.
Oh, okay. Good.
Let's open.
Or maybe it goes on automatically with your camera or something. Oh, it's fine.
Oh, good. That's it. All right. So you guys have been drawing all afternoon and you have stuff to show me, or you want to continue drawing? And I made another drawing today. These are fun. Right. So, you know, we have a meeting and the guy says, well, why don't you try 3 over here and 2 over there and 2 over there. So when you draw before rendering something or before doing anything, it saves a lot of time, right? So if you do it in the drawing before you go out and, well, I tried it from that end and then from the other end. We're going to work with markers when we get to Folio 2. If you wanted to, you could certainly do these exercises, right? With grayscale, because the pen and ink drawings, in a sense, are using, even though we're not trying to draw shadow, we're using light and dark. So if you had 1 or 2 grays, these are gray markers. Let me try to get this image onto another piece of paper. Again, don't feel like you're left out if you don't follow along with a particular thing. I occasionally show these things in order to sort of connect them together later, right? I think it's a good idea to study one particular topic, one particular drawing well, than to try to do 10 different ones and not understand what's going on. Let me see if I get something out of here. Interrupt me anytime if you have questions. After a while, you start to get a sense. You could probably draw this without even having a trace drawing in the background. See how I abbreviate? I don't need all that context. I might need a little more pencil on the back of this drawing than I have. All right. And the idea it's remarkable how I can lose things without even going anywhere. The idea is, you know, create yourself a frame for this and then try to bring it to life with some kind of technique. It doesn't matter what that technique is. For next week, we'll try to do this with colored paper. If I wanted to work in grayscale, and one of the things about rehearsing the drawing is that after a while you start to get a sense of the structure of that drawing. And I'm going to repeat depth cues. How can we take a plain old drawing like this and get somebody to feel like they're enclosed in a space? This is how to go about it. All my pens are running out of ink. Let me see what that's gray. something I've left out there. It's a little bit darker than the other. What do I want to happen in there? Well, I think I need a lighter gray. Let me go find one. I'll be right back. You need 20, 30 grays now. Not at all. 1 or 10, depending on the numbering system, whatever marker you choose. I mean, Prismacolor is all right. Copics are really good. They're expensive. A bit more. So you need like a light and a medium and then a dark one. And eventually you figure out where they live on the spectrum. Let's see what that is. That's really light. Is that even going to show up? Yeah. Oh. The nice thing about light is you can get darker afterwards. Maybe I'll go inside the column. This is a 5. It's a bit lighter. Maybe I'll do these guys. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is to show you how quickly these drawings go if you use marker. When we get to Folio 2, we'll play around with these, but I wanted to leave them for you as options. You can also combine lines with it. Sometimes they have kind of a neat effect. Right? And I'm using all those things that we studied, right? It's just a shape, that shape. I don't normally trace the outlines, but maybe here they would come in handy. And then articulate that a little bit. Okay. This is killing me. These are flattening out. You see how the white is really like just flattening out? So it may need some value in there. Don't paint yourself into a corner. You see how I'm leaving a lot of stuff really white. Anyway, There's other stuff going in there. That's the point. You can quickly go from here to there. In this drawing, you've done all the work already. Remember, this is not a piece of trace paper, but it could be. It could have been. Right? With trace, we did a similar.
We can't hear you talking.
Oh boy.
It
All
was
that.
just for like, yeah.
Just a minute.
Yeah, like just a couple seconds. It wasn't long.
Oh, okay, that's good. I was nervous that whole time you didn't hear a thing I said. All right, I think where I left off, yeah, it must have inadvertently turned. I broke this microphone, so I modified it. The mouthpiece lives there, but the long stem that used to, so I have to be careful with that. Anyway, most of the work you've done in laying out the structure of the drawing with either trace or this. And remember this, and you're all going to have multiple copies of these. This is basically to explain what you see, what it is that you're looking at. So the compliment I got from somebody today was that doing this actually helped with a perspective class in foundations. And I was really happy to hear that, because that's really the point of this drawing. It's kind of like a guide to perspective, because I don't have the time to go through foundational perspective with you guys as the foundation faculty can. So I'm trying to bring you to a point where you are comfortable with these, to the point where you can get the viewer to look at that space that you are inhabiting. That's the point of these drawings. Okay, instead of introducing something you don't have, or I'm not expected to have before you, I'll get a black and white Prismacolor pencil. Incidentally, I often use these pencils to create little accent in here. Do you see how just making a little bit of a white mark can add some interest to the drawing? You guys picked the best career in the whole wide world. You really did. Somebody's going to pay you to do this stuff. That's amazing. That really is remarkable. It really shows up against a darker area there. Let me find my other pencil. I don't have, I didn't get the tone paper. I intended to start this next week. So I find in this class when I introduce something briefly in one class and then reinforce it the next, it tends to work out pretty well. This is a piece of cardboard, right? So the idea, it doesn't matter if this is brown, gray, or red would be difficult, but some kind of earth tone, that is a general idea. And then you want to work with a white and black pencil. I don't have Prismacolor here. I got some other Mickey Mouse pencil. But the idea when you're working with colored paper is that the gray or the colored paper is the middle tone. Let's imagine that we were drawing a box. I'm going to use a white pencil to outline it. Box. That's in perspective, right? This is the lightest color. Oh boy. I might have to improvise here. I'm going to take my 7B pencil. Make believe this is a Prismacolor. This is darkest color. And imagine I'm going from dark to light. At some point, the dark fades to a value that represents the middle. So the middle tone is the color that I see in here. Let me see if I can highlight it. So at some point, that starts to become light. Maybe one way to look at it is if I were drawing, imagine I'm looking at a coin. One of the many exercises we don't do anymore. That's a $50. You guys probably have rarely ever seen that, right? But if I look at the edges of that, or a quarter, whatever it is, it has a bunch of ridges. But let's say I wanted to represent it from the lightest that I could see it to the darkest. And somewhere in the middle is that neutral tone. Maybe at the bottom, you see a really dark, right? And then what happens on top all depends what we think we're looking at. But the beauty of is that this becomes a light. The white is a light. If I were drawing the base of the column, by now you guys know this. Easy, oh yeah, rectangle, ellipse, 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 and then this is curve, and then so on this side, and this is what's fun about doing this. On this side we have light. On that side, feel free to make mistakes with these. There's no wrong way to do this. It's so much fun, it's criminal. Working with a white pencil, you could do almost everything with a white pencil on black paper. Well, you have to be really brave to try that. But theoretically, right, if I were drawing with a white pencil on black paper, there are places where I see light. At some point, it becomes a middle color. So your brightest colors fade to that direction. Your dark colors fade to light in that direction. I'm doing a very haphazard job with this. But that's the idea of working on tone paper. That's a piece of cardboard. perfectly all right to work with a piece of cardboard. Let me see where I found my pencil sharp. So I would start small. Zoom in on something.
Are we supposed to be doing what you just showed us, or are we doing what we did like this morning?
No. You continue with what you did this morning. I'm showing you what we're gonna do next week. If you have toned paper and you want to try this, you can go ahead and do that. But this is the last part of this folio is to create this drawing on toned paper. So don't worry if you're not doing it right now. In order to get a sense what is reasonable as well, right? In the course of one class, how many people, and raise your hand if you can, how many people feel like they have completed one drawing, one ink drawing, or still need to, not yet? So most of you feel like you still need to complete one ink drawing. Is that right? Dynamite. That's great. This is what I need to know, right? Does it help for me to construct these things for you guys to watch me do these? It does. Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to start up a different one then, with a different pattern. No, no. I forget sometimes I move ahead too quickly and people haven't finished stuff they've done before. You know where I could find a hand pencil sharpener? I thought I had one this morning, and it's astonishing how quickly I lose things on this. I'll just take these and sharpen them. So when I was a kid in grade school, I went to this Catholic grade school across the street from my house. I was late every day, and when we were in, I'm gonna guess second grade or something, and we watched kids in like third grade. I don't know if you guys remember, but do you remember ever when you first got to use a pen? In other words, like you used pencils for a long time, and then one day you get to use a pen, and it looked like everybody had ink on their hands from using a pen. I don't think we were 7 or 8 years old when that, but I'll never forget that. Every time I pick up a pencil, I think of that. Wow, this is cool. One day we'll get to draw with a pen. Anyway, so if I'm just starting with this, and I'm going to send you guys a ton of these. The nice thing about it is I can, almost see on the back of it. There may be other ways of transferring these drawings of paper to nice paper. But that part of it is not that that isn't the most important part. Now that I've rehearsed this, I'm going to use my red pen. It's here somewhere. I need my drafting dots. Don't have to have drafting dots. You could use a masking tape. These are convenient because trouble is they stick to everything, so you get dots all over the place. Dots. Red pen allows me to see what I've done. And each time that you do this, you feel that much more comfortable that, wow, I don't have to draw all those lines because I can make that piece of fiction happen anyway. I know what's important from having studied that geometry, right? Sometimes I have to look back at this picture to remind myself. All right, this comes over. Those go back. See what I'm getting. I probably should have made some more ellipses. But now I'm comfortable that I've done this so many times. I really can improvise on the drawing itself, even though I don't have all the parts. There's a pilaster at the back. This is a column. So that's a column. Let's see opening. Whoop, we got one more. I'll improvise the door. You can manage with remarkably little information. And hopefully each time that you do this, you're more comfortable that, yeah, I don't need the rest of it. I'll figure out what I'm going to do there. Sometimes it's a good idea to practice something. My drawing teacher used to tell me I was really heavy-handed. And he was right. And I've never been able to correct that. So I tend towards marks that read well in high contrast. You learn things about yourself when you draw. You know, I think I mentioned to you guys when I drew that my college room, everything I owned fit in that picture. And heavy-handed people, this is my least favorite mark. Doing this takes forever. So therefore, I'm going to try. I'm going to try with something that takes forever. Let me give myself a little more. Notice I'm not really paying attention to, I mean, they sit on line pretty much, but do they have to be precise? No. That'll do. Okay. it's amazing how a lack of density reads very light. A couple of you that showed me these drawings did an incredible job in a really short amount of time. I'm looking at the Photoshop file that I can't remember. Let's see. So when you draw dots, the density is going to determine your darkest areas. Now I know why no one finished the drawing. If you did this, you could be here a really long time, huh? I like making the drawings because I have to remind myself of what I ask you guys to do, because if I'm not willing to do it, or I can't do it, I have no business teaching it, right?
Hey Sandro, could I
Yes.
see your other drawing that you did earlier and finished? I'm kind of confused on like what type of shading to put on the floor and also like this side wall.
Well, that's what I mean. Don't feel like you have to colorize everything. But whatever you decide is going to be a response to a mark you've already made. So if you have gone in to the back and established sort of this level of darkness, then what you want to do is start with something slightly lighter, back off and say, does that work? Do I really need all that? Maybe I just need the part near the door. And then as I back off from it, I can fade away. So you don't have to colorize every single thing. You don't need a strategy for every part. But whatever part you decide, it should be a response to something you've already done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that helps a lot seeing that now.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
because a drawing is always a response to a mark that you've made. That's how you build it. And once you let go of drawing in that fashion, once you let yourself say, you know what, I'm just going to respond to what I've already drawn, then it really starts to grow, really starts to become something interesting. I'm nowhere near that here, right? I have no idea where I'm going to go with this, and I won't know until I start to develop something that's connected to something else. Because I started here with this pattern, now I'm going in that direction. I think I just smudged. That's why all my clothes have marks on them. It is so hard for me to make dots. It is torturous for me to make dots. But that's not going to keep me from making dots. That doesn't read like anything, right? So there's this, if there's a certain lack of density beyond which it kind of breaks down. You learn that as you go. You respond to parts that you've already constructed here. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I lost my base. I'll give myself a little bit of, so I can do that, right? And then use an eraser to make that stuff disappear. I can also use an eraser here. I didn't mention that before, but it's perfectly acceptable. It helps to have an eraser. Hang on. So if I think I screwed all this up, look at that. Magic. Pencil disappears. after a while, you find a way to bring it out. What do I do up here? I can't see it anymore.
Could I show you mine again?
Yes, please do. Yeah.
I made it a lot darker underneath to try and like correct what I did before.
Wait a minute. Oh, wow.
I don't know if you can see that better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I tried to like make that darker so now you can see like the shadowing better.
You know, I criticized it before about the light to dark scheme, but it's still very successful in terms of giving the viewer the illusion that there's depth there by virtue of creating that mark. So in that sense, Emily, that drawing is very successful.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, that's a portfolio piece. Somebody could pull it apart. Again, you know, we're not trying to reproduce what we see. We're basically using that structure to create an illusion of depth. Let's take a 10-minute break and we'll resume in a little bit. Give yourself a break. All right. Oh, I have to share the screen. All right. You know, I need to get a camera. I ordered one, but it hasn't come in yet, where I can zoom in on what I'm doing. I can barely see this. I know you guys must have a tough time with that. I think one of the things that'll be really cool. Let's say you were able to form a very precise border between cross vaults. Then you can erase. Now you should wait for the ink to dry. So I just ruined that. But then you could erase the pencil that you used to scaffold the drawing. So you have clear delineation between what happens here and how it changes surfaces. Even as you work within that part of a drawing, you're still responding to a mark you already made. See how you're drawing within dots you've already drawn. And that's what starts to make it really intriguing. Let's see what can happen. Of course, now I'm starting in a different part of the drawing where I don't really have context. But in a sense, I have the beginnings of some context, right? By virtue of having drawn this column.
Can you take a look at mine so
Yeah,
far?
yes.
I don't know if you can see that too well.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, yeah. Wow, how in the world did you make that mark?
Which mark?
It looks like, it looks squiggly. It looks kind of squiggly, but what kind of pen did you use?
I don't know. It's a pen that I just had. It's from Artist Lofts.
Could I see what size?
0.8.
0.8. Okay, 0.8 is pretty thick. So you're able to get a pretty thick line. Yeah. I didn't place any parameters on that. I work with a very, very fine pen. Maybe that's why this is driving me nuts right now. But experiment with, if for instance, you completed a drawing with a 0.8 pen, try the next one with like a 0.5 or something.
Yeah, I need to get a thinner one, but this is just the one that I had.
Yeah, but that's fine. The drawing goes a bit more quickly when you draw with a thicker pen, because you cover more territory more quickly. But that's fine. That's coming along nicely. Yeah.
Should I do the floor? I'm like I'm not sure if I should or not.
Pin it up again, put it up again. I don't mind that it's missing. You
Oh.
could try in a different drawing, right?
Yeah.
Hey, keep in mind, you guys, you can copy these, right? You can scan them or take a picture of them and experiment with them. That doesn't mean, you know, this. I'll share that again. This doesn't have to be a dead end, or if you think you want to try something, you can make a copy of the drawing, print it out. Keep in mind that, you know, anything you draw on the copy, you'll want to reproduce later. But if you wanted to experiment with some technique, it's perfectly all right to do that. Does anybody else want to show any of their progress work? Don't feel like you have to, but if you want to, feel free.
Can I show you mine?
Mhm.
So this is the same one from earlier, but I tried to add more variation in the top part.
I think that's one that's an, I can't see it all that well because of the resolution, but that's an excellent composition. What I'm going to recommend you guys, you want some more careful feedback, I'll take a picture of the drawing or scan it if you have a scanner and send it to me. At some point, I'm going to ask you guys to do that. I can tell even the blurriness that I can see is that the composition is well balanced, and you really get a sense that you're in that space. So you know, you've created a very successful picture, and I think you're ready to do the next one. Yeah.
I did start one.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how.
You call that starting?
Yeah.
This is pretty far along to me. That's what she calls starting. Molly calls that starting. You want to start mine? I'm going to send this to you so you can finish it.
Well, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
stippling definitely takes longer, and I have not
Yeah.
been doing stippling, so
So how did you make that mark?
it's just like kind of hatching, like cross hatching, but
Okay.
not as careful, I guess.
Okay. Well, what I think is wonderful about it is the gradient that you achieve as you go from where the crossfold hits the top of the capital, and then see how it goes upwards, and then it fades out. And that you're looking at surfaces that are really gradients. They're in transition, and to get that to happen requires a very steady and patient gradient change. And you've done that in that. So I think it's quite successful. I can't see anything that I'd do differently about it. You set yourself up for a you see the little, it looks like some shading is cast at the base of those columns, right? From the contrast you put at the bottom of that. I'm going to say, okay, well, since you did that, you might want to continue it with the pilaster against the wall and maybe underneath the door over there to just sort of continue that contrast. Again, I'm responding to a mark you've already made. And that's what I'd like to encourage you guys to do.
Okay.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I show you mine as well?
Yes, please. Wonderful. Yeah, yeah. Um, the same apply. You're appreciating the gradient, right? That I really love how you touch down on the top of the capitals. It's kind of disappearing. Maybe you need a little bit more up in the ceiling area, only because you've managed it so exquisitely in the rest of the drawing that it just begs to be finished like that.
Okay.
So see if you can continue that up there. But I think other than that, I don't even think you need the floor, but that's up to you.
Okay. Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What building are you in, Greta?
Um, I'm in a 73 right now.
73 Tremont.
Yeah,
What floor?
the 5th floor. We're just in one of the classrooms.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out where everything is.
It's
That's cool.
the like back corner classroom. It's a corner room.
Okay, all right.
got
I'm so happy to see people. Go ahead, Skylar. I
Oh
interrupted.
yeah, I just finished mine. So I know before you said, I don't know how well you can see this because the lighting isn't great in here now that
Yeah.
it's out, but I did over here, like I drew lines. So over here, I tried to do it with just the line marks instead of drawing the lines in, and then I finished like the
Yeah, I think it's very successful without the lines. I certainly wouldn't ask you to do it over. I think you found a mark that works for you, and it's very, very. I'm glad that you guys are discovering something about the character of your own style, and that's one of the things that happens here. That's when it becomes really, really useful to you as a designer to figure out a mark that you're comfortable doing. But I think that's great, and I think the next drawing is going to be that much better because of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna attempt to do it with the scribbling because I haven't done that before either. So we'll see how that goes. But I was telling Greta how when we looked at these like on syllabus day, like the first class, we were both like, how the heck are we gonna draw that? And now we're like, okay, like we're getting the hang of it. And it's
That is
know-
so cool. So what do you mean on syllabus day? Meaning when I first showed you the drawings, how are you going to do
yeah,
that?
when you showed me that, I was like,
We were
okay,
like, there's.
I'm gonna be on the struggle bus. And
I was like, there's no way we can do this, but we will do our best.
I thought it was gonna take me like a solid 3 days to draw this, and I've done it in like 3 hours ish. So
That's
I'm
fantastic.
impressed.
That is fantastic. I'm so excited to hear you guys do, and this has evolved too because I wasn't sure. I never presented this virtually before. I've always done it, in class. But I think it seems like it's been helpful for me to do it in front of you guys to just sort of give you. But to hear you tell me that, okay, at first I didn't know how I was going to do it, and then suddenly you have a level of confidence with it. That's the whole point. And that's what I hope happens. I hope that happens for the next 3 years, right?
It's been really awesome because I don't think either of us really had much like experience with perspective and stuff. So we were like, oh, this is not as hard as we thought it was. So it's been good.
Thank you so much, Skylar. That's very reinforcing, and it's great for me to have that feedback about this. Yes, thanks. If if anybody else feels like giving me more positive feedback. I'm not gonna prevent you from doing that, but no worries. The whole point of this, if one or two of you have responded in that fashion, that tells me, and I can see from your work that these are coming along, and I'm not going to rush them. So I'll continue to do this, and interrupt me or stop me if there's something you want to show me. So let me put this back up on the screen, and you can watch me agonize over my stippling. See, you guys were able to manage that whole gradient that goes from here. I'll draw it in pencil because I can erase it. When you move in that direction, you want to do that gradually. And you guys have accomplished it. You've managed that really, really well. Really, really well. I'm very proud of this class. I think I will be for a long, long time. All right, let me draw into. So something different is going to happen at the top of the cross vault than happens as the cross vault reaches down to meet the pilaster or the column. Does everybody know what I mean by pilaster? A pilaster is typically, if you have a wall and you may have a column out here, right? Or a series of columns. But where the column meets the wall, you usually have something built to engage. It's built into the wall. That's called a pilaster. And that's what happens here. And this is a column. This is language you become familiar with as designers. Eventually, you know what all these things are. But then, we'll go through it a little at a time. History, you get history. So each one of these adjacent cross vault sections is going to have a different character. What do I mean by character? It's going to have different value, different intensity. In terms of what we're representing. Adjacency is important. Adjacent, juxtaposition. everything reads in contrast to what's next to it. In response to a mark that you previously made. I have to tell Elizabeth what you guys have said about that. These guys have told me that when they first saw them drawing, they couldn't imagine how in the world they were going to do them. And I told them that these are really important pieces of the portfolio, and several of them have told me that they're really excited that they've found them, that they've been able to do 2 or 3 of them.
That's awesome. They
Yeah.
survived the 4 years into that portfolio. It's amazing.
Yeah, Elizabeth's saying that after 4 years, some of these drawings that you did first year are some of the most compelling parts of the portfolio. Oh, I just destroyed it. Oh, no. Can't believe I did that. I'll make believe I intended that. Oh yeah, that's my eraser stippling technique. Just move on. It's really important to live with your mistakes and learn from them. Everything that looks like a mistake really isn't a mistake. Well, this is a mistake. But a lot of this drawing is a mistake. That's all right. I'm gonna have to live with myself. It may be that the stippling wants a heavier pen. So I could see how a 0.8, 0.7, or 0.8 might be better, because all you want is that dot. It's really easy to let it slip.
I've been using a 0.3
0.3.
for the
Wow.
stippling, and I think that's why it's taking me so long to do
Yeah.
like this part.
Yeah, you'll probably finish by graduation.
That's funny.
No, but I mean, having done that, maybe the next one you start with, you try a different pen, a different nib.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be like that bad, but
Well, one of the things that's reinforcing about these drawings is that a little part of it shows you the potential of what can possibly happen. So if you activate this or that tells you, you know what, I can make the rest of it, work, you know? Don't worry about this. I didn't want people to flip out on we have enough to do with this. I'm realizing that. Sometimes I jump ahead and every single class I teach, I always learn more from my students than I imagined. Kind of improvising about that I really want to see that window happen in there. And then there's that thing that goes across. See, when I try to do it fast, it makes lines. What a drag. Of course, I kind of lost control of it because I set up a border, but I wasn't paying attention to what I was drawing. So really, the dark part of the window, to me, what's interesting is what happens in between. Where that arch starts to turn into something. See how the white of that arch is jumping out? Maybe it's saying, push me back, push me back. Color me. I'm not sure, I may ruin it. Let's try some of the lines. You know what you could do too? Because this is recorded, I can do stuff like this. I'm gonna make believe. I'm gonna make believe that was a little study drawing. Now all these mistakes disappear, right? I just took a little part of it out. I'm being a little bit silly with it, but technically, what's my point? There are going to be places where some parts of the drawing are more successful than others, right? And if you wanted to, I'm not going to encourage you to cut out parts of your drawing. But you could take the part that's successful and say, I want to focus on that. I want to amplify that. And maybe compose a separate sketch. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, you got the. I can't believe it. One class, how many students have, how much they're getting out of it. What all they're working with. That's awesome. And this was one of the exercises Anna lost that just gave up on it for some reason. But I really hung on to this because I thought it was really important. I know why. I suspected because instinctually I knew that from Lyman's. You know, from looking at Lyman. What? Yeah. 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 That could become a way of framing other parts of your drawing. Look at the effect that has, right? It's like one of those documentaries where they say, you know, the Ken Burns documentaries, and Picasso looked at the column and looked at the window next to the column in the arch, and then he saw that whatever. All right. It's an idea, maybe not a terribly good one.
Sandro, can I show you
Yes,
what I
please.
have so far?
Yeah. Let me stop share and go ahead. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Again, a recognition of that gradient, the way the arches, the cross walls are coming off the column are very persuasive. Show me one more time and I like how you've taken liberties with the lamps, the lanterns. You don't have to draw every single part of it, but that's great. You could either go in and do the ceilings or leave them because I think it's successful either way. So the anytime that I recommend that, always take my advice with a grain of salt. It's your work of fiction, and you're responding to things that you've already done. These are incredibly successful for one day, you guys. You're amazing. You've really done a great job. Anybody else? Okay, I'm not great at assigning homework, and I always ask people, do you want homework? Do you want homework? I hope what we do in class gives you incentive to want to do it. So, you know, do as much as you can for next class, but we can usually, if we work carefully, we can usually complete the work you need to do for this class during class. So I want you guys to be comfortable with that notion, be confident with that, and we'll take it a little at a time. So next, bring some colored paper or a piece of cardboard. I really don't care. And black and white Prismacolor marker. Pencil. That's right, pencil. Black.
Black and white pencil.
Next week. Black. White.
It's Conti too.
Conti?
White Conti crayon? No?
Prisma. I don't know if it's the same. I'd like everybody to work with the same instruments. Black and white Prisma pencil. And tone paper. Gray. 10. Cardboard, if you want. Thank you, guys. You've done a remarkable job. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. And write or call and send me a picture or something if you have something you want me to respond to, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.